I have made a really difficult decision. I'm selling a huge portion of my personal collection, but there are reasons why, and I'm going to share those reasons with you today. Let's talk personal collection philosophy. Hey everyone, welcome back to another Market Movers video. We are back in Casa de Teapot for another video, and this time, kind of a somber topic, but also one that feels quite liberating, if I'm being totally honest. As I mentioned, I'm selling a big portion of my personal collection, or at least I'm putting some of it up on the market to make it available. And I'm gonna talk through that whole process with you today and why I'm doing it. I really like having a diverse collection. I like a lot of different sports. I like non-sports. I like a lot of different eras, different types of cards. In spite of what you might hear about how I'm all about the money and making money videos, I'm actually a collector at heart. I have a lot of cards, and that's basically the problem. I was going through my cabinets, kind of going back through what you have seen in previous videos about how I've sorted and organized all my cards and saying, I haven't even looked at these cards or these binders in 6 months, a year, 2 years. I have a lot of cards I forgot I even owned. And when you get to that point, at least for some of us, like me, you just start to question, why do I have these cards? What am I doing with them? What's the point of these if I don't look at them, enjoy them, share them with others? I don't really have like friends coming over for sleepover parties to go page through my binders or see how cool my collection of Pistons stuff is and things along those lines. And as you know, I have a ton of Andre Drummond cards as well. Not exactly the most sought after player on the market. I've really enjoyed having a super player PC, a super collection of an individual player. But I think it's time for some things to shift and to change. My collecting style, my collection philosophy has changed over time. And I'm gonna talk to you about what that evolution can look like. And then I'm gonna talk to you about what exactly I'm doing, which is a little different than some of the options that I've talked to you about in the past. So let's get into that. And obviously this video is the Market Movers channel. If you want to use Market Movers, check out marketmoversapp.com. It'll lay out all the plans, all the different functionality, track your entire collection, track the things that you've bought and sold, make sure you're not selling for too cheap or overpaying. Go to marketmoversapp.com and use DIVE at checkout, D-I-V-E. You'll save 20% and get 14 days free for life. Now let's check out my collection. All right, so it's been a minute since we've been back in my office, and you maybe notice one main difference, which is that a lot of the shelves are bare right now. So I actually had new windows installed in my house. Not cheap at all. And initially financed a portion of it, including this window in here, which is now UV protected, which is really nice for a card room. Lets in that good natural daylight, but that's an expense. And when I think about the motivation for selling cards, there's always a question like, well, if you need to sell cards to pay for your life expenses, maybe you're overspending. Not really. I didn't overextend myself and go into a bunch of credit card debt. I bought cards, I've enjoyed my hobby, I've grown and evolved my collection over time, saw a lot of cool stuff, and my philosophy around collecting has changed. And the nice part is that I can cash out a portion of it and put it toward personal life expenses like new windows, like having a baby, like other things, and then put some of it back into my collection. And that's typically what I do. When I go through these consolidation processes, I sell off stuff and then I take some portion, typically like 50-50, put 50% back into my PC budget, 50% back into my home and personal family budget. And then I just have a monthly stipend that's kind of bankrolled into my hobby PC overall. But I mentioned philosophy and how things change over time. This is a graphic that some of you may have seen that I've shared in the past. I've done it in a few videos now, both on this channel as well as on a discussion that we had on Spitball and Cards about how people's collecting style and the way they hobby changes and evolves over time. This is not a global rule. This doesn't all apply to everybody, but it's pretty spot on for a lot of people. And it's really resonated with those who have seen this. So let me talk you through this a little bit. Two axes here: expensive cards, cheap cards, okay? Low variety, meaning only having a few cards, to high variety. A lot of people come back into the hobby after having collected when they were children. Like I would say probably 60, 70, 80% of people that I talk to who are now into cards as adults collected when they were kids in the 80s and 90s, okay? So we start out nostalgia. You find your old binders. This is my story. You find your binders from the 90s, you're looking through them, all your cool cards that you collected when you were little, most of which probably aren't worth that much these days, and you get the bug, you get the nostalgia bug. So you start here on maybe intermediate variety. Maybe you have what you think is a lot of cards, Typically a lot of cheaper stuff. Like I said, stuff that's not super valuable. And then you kind of start to move. You move up. You start buying more expensive cards. You're asking, what's new today? What's this market about? How many cards are there today? And you discover the new card market. You're learning and you're buying. So you're discovering more what's rare and what's sought after. You start buying a higher variety of cards, even more. Your boxes are swelling. You're getting a lot of different stuff. You're probably ripping some products and wondering, why is this so expensive? Did I get anything good? Oh man, I just spent $300 on a box and got $14 worth of cards. I probably won't do that again. It's a process. It's a learning process and an evolution. And all of a sudden you're starting to buy more expensive cards. Maybe you're going back to your childhood nostalgia and you're buying that Barry Sanders card that you couldn't afford when you were 9 years old, but you can today when you're 30, 40 years old. So then you're evolving. Now all of a sudden you're like looking around and going, man, I have a lot of stuff. I have a ton of cards. I have my stuff from when I was a kid. I have new stuff. I have all this stuff. And a lot of it I don't know what to do with, or I don't actually care about it. You go through a consolidation phase. That's kind of what I'm doing today, almost in like a third round. Now that I've been back in the hobby since 2019, I'm kind of into like round 3 of consolidation. And this says paring down to what you really love, dumping the regret cards and just kind of moving on. A lot of people then go into like a vintage phase, maybe even prior to their childhood. They start seeing the Mantles, the Mays, the other stuff, a lot of things that I talked about a couple weeks ago in my kind of concerned vintage video that I did. I'm discovering and appreciating some of those cards for the beauty and simplicity and only one rookie card for given players. Not everybody goes through that process, and yet some people do. And then maybe you go through a second consolidation and you start to get into even higher prices per cards. Suddenly you've got a Grant Hill Essential Credentials card that you didn't think you'd ever own, or some other things, some precious metal gems, some Prism Golds from 2012, something that you're like, wow, this is really cool. Whatever those grails look like to you. And this process can evolve over time. I went through all of this in like, I call it typically a 2 to 3 year cycle. 3 years I would say is about the average. And then I kind of like wandered back down into this area and have found myself like going back through this. I knew what's good, but my collector style changed over time. And again, like I said in a few moments ago, you start looking and you go, I have this binder. It was really fun putting this together. The chase is half of the fun when it comes to collecting in the hobby. But now that I have all these, I thought this card was cool at the time, but it doesn't make it into my like S, A, or B tier of my collection. Now it's time to let it go. You don't have to do that. If you're fine having binders tucked away and you just enjoy that process, you can do it. But if you really start to add up the value, you're like, man, there are cards in my S tier, grail cards, different things that I never thought I could possess that I could go after if I'm willing to cut ties with a lot of this stuff that frankly, you're probably not going to miss once it's gone. You won't even think twice about it. So you've seen me do 2 primary things in the past in terms of selling cards. The first is selling to your local card shop. Cards HQ. I work there in the back. Very easy for me, very easy to work with, paying fair market value. They've always been very reasonable to me. And I can sell to them 70% cash, 80% store credit. Most of the time I go after that store credit, one, because I'm just getting a bigger payout and because I do buy cards from the shop. So especially if there's something that catches my eye on the shelf, like for example, this Riley Green Orange Bowman First Auto that I bought a few months ago, I went to the shop and I traded in a whole bunch of stuff to just fund this card. I had no cash out of pocket. In fact, I got like $400 extra in store credit back when I bought this card from Cards HQ. So selling to your card shop can be a great option for sure. The one caveat though is they don't always want to buy everything. Shops like Cards HQ and many, many others, as well as dealers, their profit model, their business model is quick margin. So they're buying at 70, 80%, which to you can seem like, wow, that's a lot of fee or whatever that I'm paying, but that's the trade-off to get that liquidity. And then they've got to move those cards quickly. That's what they're trying to do. So that's not every card you have is a card that they're necessarily going to want to buy. I'll give you an example here, okay? This is an Andre Drummond. This is from 2021 Select, and this is the Black Disco, Black Fast Break. Fast Break I think is what they still call it in Select. And this is a 1 of 1. You can see right on the back, right here, it says 1 of 1. So this is a 1 of 1. One of many different 1 of 1s that I have of Andre Drummond. Not exactly the most liquid card. If Cards HQ were to buy that card from me, they're going to buy it and then it's going to sit on the shelf for a long time. They'd have to find somebody who buys it. On top of that, it's not graded, and right now the only inventory that they list and integrate to their website is graded inventory because there's less room for disputes and things with the e-commerce aspect of it. So point being, they would just tell me, hey, Teapot, we don't want your 80 Drummond one-of-ones. We don't have a desire for those and an appetite. Makes sense. The other thing that I've shown you that I really like to sell on is obviously eBay. eBay is the biggest marketplace by a landslide for sports cards and trading cards, and they've been around for a long time. Listing cards on eBay, somewhat cumbersome still. The process does take time, but if you want the most eyeballs on your cards, it's the way to go. Another option is obviously to send it to consignment companies who will do all that work for you and pay you out most of the time the same exact fee rate, if not more money, than if you sold the cards yourself. So eBay, always a really good option. If I have cards that I want to run on auction, for sure, I either post them myself on eBay or I send them to a consignment company, and I know I'm going to get that money paid out really soon. There are two other options, and these are the ones that I'm actually going to talk about today and explain to you. And these are the two options that I'm using for this process that I'm going through today, for the most part. The first is COMC. COMC, also known as Check Out My Cards. This is a company that's been around for, I think, like 22-ish years, maybe a little bit longer, quite a while. And they are out in Washington, I believe, Pacific Northwest. It's basically a vault that you can send any card to, graded, raw, trading card, anything. You can send it out to them. And they will scan in your card, and then they will put it into like an inventory management screen for you, and you go in and you set the prices. So what you do is you pack them all up in a box like this, just in the penny sleeves. Very secure, by the way, in these boxes. They're not going to get damaged. And then you send them out. They scan them in. It does take them a little bit of time. There's different service levels, so you're going to pay more per card depending on how fast you want them to process it. Default is like 50 cents for any card. That's the processing fee. So you send it out to them. You're going to pay 50 cents. They're going to scan them all in, put them into an inventory screen for you, and then they're going to let you set the price. What's really cool is if there are other cards listed, they have the entire catalog, like every checklist ever made, built into their system. And if they don't, when they get your card, they will put it into their database. And then they scan the cards in, and then yours is up against every other card of the same version, which lets you, if you want to move it really quickly, just set yours at the lowest price. Oh, the lowest available is $1.49. I'm going to make mine $1.39, and you're going to set it. And this stuff does move. This is a 660 count storage box. It's full, okay, full of cards that I'm going to send to COMC, and they will scan all of these cards in. My experience when I've sent stuff to COMC is that about 60 to 70% of the cards that I send in sells within the first 30 days of me getting them listed and priced. So they had to scan them in. It's going to take a few weeks or maybe a month. They'll get them all loaded. The stuff moves, and then you just go from there. You can discount your entire portfolio if you want to. Say like, I'm going to run a sale, discount 20% across the board, and then that'll move some of your inventory. Eventually you wind up with some stuff that's stale. They have options if you wanted to donate things. You can click buttons on cards to say just make a donation, and then you can just keep reducing the prices or go about that. Eventually, if you're stuck with some stuff, you could have it sent back to you. Lots of options. I'm going to go back here to the screen that I was on. So the really cool thing here with COMC, okay, this is a graded card. Like I said, they have graded. Only one listed available, Justin Herbert Blue Scope. But if you look over onto the left here, this is the whole checklist. All the parallels of the base set from 2020 Optic. So if I click on base, I see all of these different options here of Justin Herbert, and I don't have to figure out how to make my search query really accurate to find this card. They've put it into the checklist. So you see all these cards here. You can see that there are 12 of these listed in raw condition. And if I sent one of these into COMC, they would load it, and I could say, I'm going to put mine at 10 bucks. I'm just going to try to move this card right away. The downside is because there are often many copies of the most liquid, most commodity cards posted, the value that you will get is you're competing against every other one, and most sellers are trying to list at the lowest price to move them. So you don't always get as much as you would on eBay. One other note though, Really cool thing about COMC is they actually cross-list your listings to eBay, most of them above a certain price threshold, and it's most of the cards. So they'll actually scan it into their database, natively into their ecosystem, where users can search really easily, and then they'll actually have it posted on their COMC eBay store with like a markup of 15% on whatever price you set to offset the cost to them to list it through eBay. So you get that dual exposure, like omni-channel, multi-channel listing service through COMC. So anything that I have that's like $1 to $20 is going to COMC. That's what I'm doing. And it's going to be a lot of different stuff. And as people buy it, you will get COMC store credit, which you can then use to buy other things, similar to like what I've done at Cards HQ, or you can cash it out. There's a fee to cash out. So if you want to really understand the inner workings of what all the potential costs you could incur are, you have to go to their website and you can just look up their fee structure. I believe it's at the bottom of the page, selling rates. So you can click on this and it'll break it all down. It can be a little bit convoluted, but they've actually simplified it quite a bit over the last few years, but they'll tell you about all the different fees and costs. Overall, you kind of got to think about it through the lens of like 50 cents to $1 for this scanning cost, depending on what you send them. And then I think it's usually like, 15 or 20% like cash out fee. So it's a good way to get rid of stuff that is going to be really tedious and a pain. Can you imagine how long it would take me to post 660 cards on eBay, like by myself? I would never be done. I'd be sitting here in 2027 still talking to you guys about it. So that's what I'm doing with those cards. And then the other one that I'm going to try out is Fanatics Collect. I've never actually sold on Fanatics Collect. I've bought a lot of stuff on Fanatics Collect. And what's really cool is they have a vault as well. And they take really beautiful high resolution images of everything. So if I click on this buy now, for example, and I come over here, like look how good that image is of this card. I mean, they have very, very high resolution scanners, okay? And they allow you to send them anything. So you send them your graded cards. I don't have any sitting here, but you know what a graded card is. And you can just put it right into their marketplace. There's no cost. There's no scanning cost, no upload cost. Vaulting is free, no recurring costs every month. You send them your cards, they go into the vault. If it's graded, you can instantly list it as a buy it now on their marketplace. If it falls within what they determine is fair market value, the selling fee is just 6%. 6%, that's it. If you list it above what they determine is fair market value, they're gonna charge you 12%, which is still better than some other marketplaces. It's a very competitive fee in the very least. So that's a really cool thing. Now, if you wanna send them raw cards, like I'm going to do with these one-of-one Andre Drummonds, if you wanna send them raw cards, they make you pay basically $3 to have them verified or authenticated by CGC. So if I click on this, let me see if I can find one here. Here's a good example, okay? So this has actually a label here. It's put into a semi-rigid, like what you would put a card in to have it graded and sent to PSA or any of the grading companies to CGC. So they put it in here and then they seal it here with this CGC logo, which does not grade the card. It just authenticates and certifies that it is a real card. That's what we call a CYA on the part of Fanatics Collect, and honestly really good for consumer confidence that the cards they would be buying here are real, that they're not counterfeit frauds. And for $3 a card, that's not really that bad. So I've got a whole bunch of cards that I'm gonna send in, graded and raw, and many of them I'm just gonna put on their buy now marketplace initially. The really cool thing is, I got high res images. So a lot of these cards, if I am not hyper eager to get rid of them necessarily, I at least have like a digitized version with really cool high res images of my cards. I can pull those over and load them into Market Movers. I don't have to then take the time to image them. And that's free. Like even the time, your cost of time to take pictures of all your cards and do that work, you've seen my setup in the past for that. That takes effort, a lot of effort too. So it's really cool. I'm gonna take a lot of my Drummond one-of-ones. I'm gonna send them there. They're not cards that I'm like extra eager to liquidate. So I'm gonna put them on there, probably put them above what like normal auction fair market value would be, have that portion of my collection digitized, and then have flexibility to immediately move them to the weekly auctions and flash auctions if I decide I need some liquidity for whatever the purpose might be, personal, PC, or otherwise. So I'm actually really excited about this process. It kind of dawned on me recently as I was just looking at everything saying, there's an intermediate option. Keep the stuff here or sell it right away. And the in-between is put it into a vault and put it at a price and have the option to speed up that process and move it to auction if I need to do that. By the way, this video, not sponsored by any of these marketplaces. This is just real talk from me, real thing that I'm doing. And I'm gonna try this experiment out and maybe a few months down the line, give you all an update on what that process has looked like. So the last thing I wanna do here, now that we're done looking at my computer, is I wanna actually show you some of the stuff that I've been pulling out, kind of what my process is for this. Hopefully that will help you. So let's go back into my room. Okay, so I had a lot of binders, stuff from my childhood, stuff I picked up. A lot of stuff I picked up on COMC over the years, the irony of maybe sending it back. But the cool thing is you're like sharing this stuff with others on their collecting journey. There's no shame in this. If anybody tries to shame you for selling portions of your collection or anything, well, shame on them, because people do that and it's ridiculous. So here's an example, okay? This is 4 binders. And by the way, you don't have to have really expensive binders. There are cheap options. There are different types of pages, things along those lines. So I had this binder, it was Lions cards. I had some other stuff in these. I had like Michigan State and Notre Dame stuff in this binder. I already pulled all of it out. Okay, what I did was pulled it all out. I sorted it, and I put it into some of those multi-row 660 count boxes. A lot of that stuff going to COMC. I have other collections. Part of my process and my journey has been defining what I call like my sub collections within my PC. So player collections, team collections. I actually have, this is kind of funny. I actually have a funny names binder, which is, I don't know, I enjoy it, kind of unique and funny names. So we got Lil Jordan Humphrey, we got Sir Dominic Pointer. Of course, nobody can forget probably the greatest name of all time, DeBrickashaw Ferguson. So when I see funny names, Sven Nater, I can't help but say it that way. I don't know if that's how he spoke or not, to be honest. We got Mick Tingelhoff. I have no idea how to say this guy's name. Crafonso Thorpe. So I see funny names, chuckle. Sports are good for that. Put them into the binder. This is another one that I think is really cool. This is my color match binder, and this will evolve and grow over time. So I got my blue page. There's another blue page. Got all my greens, some really cool stuff. Oranges, purples. We got a red page. We got a pink. We got white. Tricolor, red, white, and blue. Obviously goes well with the Giants, the Pistons. So a lot of these cards are, like not crazy expensive. And I just think it's really cool to have them in a binder. And if you were to take something like that to a trade night, like maybe you just acquire those things over time and you think they're cool, but then you bring a binder like that. Maybe I find a Lawrence Taylor fan or a Giants fan who's like, oh, I really like this card. And you're like, cool, I don't have a hard time letting it go. I've just been storing these up. Color match cards, very popular in the hobby. I really enjoy them. And I just think it's cool to kind of go through the whole rainbow of those color options in there. So I've got those 2 collections. And then I mentioned to you that I've got like player collections. Pay attention here too, because I'm showing you a lot of different storage options, which I've done in the past, but there are a lot of different ways to do this. These little folio 4-pocket pages, I think are really cool. I'm probably gonna pick up more of them. They take up less space. And the one, like, I wouldn't say it's a downside, but the one dynamic of these is the pages are fixed, okay? There's like a spine and a binder in here. So what you can't do is you can't move them around, okay? You can't move pages around, so you better be certain that the sequence that you're putting these cards in is correct, or you're gonna have a lot of rework. So these ones actually slide in right into the side. So the other binder pages go top down. These go on the side. Because of that, they tend to stay in the pages a little bit better. I still have them penny sleeved, you don't have to, but they go in. So this is my Jack Flaherty rainbow from 2024 Topps. And I was working on this all last year. And I pulled up the checklist and made sure that I have everything in order. And you can see I'm all the way down to the clear to 10. I need the platinum 1 of 1. If anybody knows where that is or has tracked it down, please hook me up. Then I'm getting into the sapphires. I actually just purchased the red sapphire, which will go right here. Actually, it'll go here because I think this is the black. And then I would need the superfractor. And then I start getting into Topps Chrome. You can see there's blank spots. Some of that stuff I'm gonna pick up on COMC hopefully, because they're some of the lower serial numbered, more readily available ones. So I picked up a lot of the lower serial numbered stuff, which you can see here. And then in the back end of this, I have my like different Tigers team runs. What I did was I picked my favorite parallels from this year's set, 2025, and I started to pick up like team color match, the golden mirror for the team last year, winning the divisional series against the Astros. Here's a true photo of Skubal. I've got a red foil of Jake Rogers. And so I've got like different stuff in here of different players. And I sorted these ones by card number, which is why you see a red to 5, like before some of these other parallels. But that's been really fun too. So there's a lot of ways to collect, rainbow chase, do other things. And then these little binders, to me, I'm a lot more likely to like pull this out and be like, you know, cool, this is really cool. Show it to my boys as we're watching the Tigers game, you know, watching Flaherty pitch 7 innings of shutout ball with 3 hits and 9 strikeouts. Ooh, ooh. So those are really cool. These things are for the serious folks. This is a zippable top loader binder. What's the brand on this? I don't know what this is, but if you type it into Amazon or go onto BCW or other sites, you'll find these. So this zips, and these are top loaded. This is all my Drummond rainbows, year over year for Prism, specifically Prism rainbows. Okay, and I'm missing some. I have a few complete rainbows. I have the complete rainbow for 2018, and I'm not getting rid of that. I'm not going to ever get rid of the one of ones. The 2 one of ones are on my shelf in my office. And then 2019, I have pretty much the entire set too. I actually have a blue ice, but it's graded. So somebody gave it to me. So just picked this one up after 6 years of looking for one. This is the green scope to 8, a choice green to 8. So I just picked that one up. And then I have the 2 one of ones from that. So I pretty much have that complete rainbow as well. So these are really hardy. It's very heavy, like surprisingly heavy with all those cards in it. This is for all you people who got real angry about my vintage video and me talking about how kids don't set collect, the youngsters these days. Well, I do still, somewhat, with the right sets. So here's another one of these Z folios. And this is a 2024 Topps Chrome Star Wars Galaxy set. This is just the base set. The artwork is so incredible in this set, like so incredible in this set. Every single card is worth just looking at. Over time, I'd like to pick up some of these in like refractors and just, swap them out in this binder. But I just picked up the complete set and put it all into one of these. And it was like a perfect fit. Look how cool these cards are. Just very dramatic. One of the best sets on the market, in my opinion, overall for design. So I have that set. And then speaking of, not design, but photography, you guys know I love Stadium Club. And I ripped way too much of this a couple of years ago. So this is 2023 Stadium Club. And I have the complete set except for, let's try to look, where is it? Where's the one that's missing? I'm missing one card. I think it's Lars Nootbaar. And to be honest, I haven't. Lars Nootbaar, card number 34. If anybody has a base Lars Nootbaar, or parallel for that matter, rookie card, send it to me to help me complete my set goals. All right, some examples of sets that I don't want to collect, that I started to. Back in 2019, was ripping boxes, like I said, getting some stuff on discount. Boxes were a lot cheaper then. And a set that I thought was fun, really cheap, was 2019 Topps Holiday. It's a fun set. Seasonally, it just fits in December to be like, hey, this is some really cool stuff. You see the designs on here. JD Hammer, maybe he goes in the funny name collection. But it's basically the Topps flagship set with like ivy on the borders. The designs change over the years. I was still missing a lot of these. So I never completed it, and I don't really care about it as much. Same thing with 2019 Heritage. I did the same thing, and I have a lot of the cards, but not all of them. These are up for grabs. If any of you watching want these cards, let me know. Shoot a DM to our help inbox, help@sportscardinvestor.com. Just say, hey, I'd love to have the Heritage High Number or the Topps Holiday. I will send them to you if you want these cards. I don't want to like pitch them because there is, most of a set there, but I don't have as much passion for those two sets, okay? This is where the rubber meets the road. Tougher decisions. Stuff, okay, Teapot, enough talking about your collection, showcasing it. What are you getting rid of? Look at this. This is my binder from when I was a kid. Chewed up corners. I mean, these things went in my backpacks, carried in hand. The collector's choice stickers like peeling off, Stockton, you know, all the things. Was a true collector as a kid. This is all Piston stuff. And as I start to go through this, I'm gonna go through the same exercise I did with those other binders that are now empty. And I will pull out the cards that I really like, and then I will get rid of some of the cards that I don't. There's some cool stuff in here. This is pretty cool, right? But I actually have this same exact rainbow for Andre Drummond, so probably would move the Tobias Harris. There's some good stuff in here. Some low serial numbered stuff from Prism. This D-Rose White Sparkle is super cool. Like, these might be two that I keep for my collection because I think they're pretty cool. Other base cards, other things I'm moving on from. And by the way, as I've pulled out just like base cards, like regular base cards like this Joe Dumars, those have actually gone into a stack, and I'm gonna probably bring them to like trade night at Cards HQ or something and just see if some kids, you know, or anybody would like to have those for their collection. But again, lots of stuff in here that I can go through, and I'll pull it out. Some of it will even go into one touches to go onto the shelves in my office to make sure that I'm enjoying those cards. And then I've got this Andre Drummond binder. This I'm probably just gonna keep. Like, once you start getting into these value cards for Drummond, a lot of them aren't even worth like sending to COMC because I probably would lose money on them. And I like having this. This is still a testament to like my collecting over time. There's a lot of rainbows in here, year over year. You can see a lot. It's basically everything that's not Prism, Optic, like tons of stuff. That was a passion project, a work of love, many COMC purchases, card show finds, stuff on eBay, along those lines. So I have other stuff too. All of that over here, I need to go through. There's graded cards, there's top-loaded cards, there's one-touch cards. A lot of it I'm still gonna keep. A lot of that actually came down from my shelves. I never explained why they're bare. They're bare because I had to take them down when they were installing the windows. They were afraid they were gonna like shake the house frame and knock everything down. So right after I'd put them up, I had to take everything down. But it's good. It's a cathartic exercise, a useful exercise to go through and move all of those and say, okay, which ones of these do I actually want to keep? Some of them will be sold, some of them will be kept. So what does that practice or process look like in practice? I've got a box like this. This is one of the ones that I had sorted, and if you remember, you don't have to do anything fancy. Like you can buy fancy dividers that can enhance the visual appeal of your collection. You can also just cut out pieces of cardboard, make sure they're a little bit taller than the cards, and sort them alphabetically. So I pull these out, okay, and I go, this Sharif's pretty cool. It is a first day issue, so it's serial numbered, 170 of 200. These are pretty tough to come by, believe it or not, even though they're numbered to 200. That one's probably gonna go to COMC. This Giannis, visually appealing, like really cool looking card, but honestly, I've got a lot of Giannis cards. This one doesn't make the upper echelon of my favorite Giannis cards. This is a really cool looking card. Very, very clean, very demure. Zero Gravity Hollow from Hoops Premium stock. It's cool, but it's going to COMC. This one is like a super short printed variation from Spectra. I like it. It didn't pop as much in hand as I thought it did when I bought it on eBay. Probably gonna go to COMC or to maybe to Fanatics Collect. I gotta show you this set. This, just if you're not aware of this set, this is called SP Inside Info. These were like one per box, like box toppers, and they're actually gold versions of these that are insanely difficult to come by for a lot of players. But check this out. Woo! This is the 90s for you. Now, obviously, these types of cards, not meant to be graded, and I could be wrong, but I believe I've seen them graded slid in as well as slid out, like horizontal in a slab. There's stats on the back. Like in today's grading, gotta be gem mint culture, we would never see cards like this because they're impossible to keep in gem mint collection. But man, were these cool when I was a kid. And one of my friends actually got to rip a box of this for Christmas one year, and they managed to hit a gold Penny Hardaway that I traded like half of my collection to get from him to pry away. So that's cool. So yeah, you just kind of go through this box. I'm gonna keep all my gold medallions from Ultra forever, for always. Probably will binder these up at some point, but the photography, I mean, look at this. Iverson, behind the back pass, Carter. They captured these players so well in these photos, even back in the 90s, and put them onto cards. I miss the days of photography being prioritized. I've got like 2 of these championship trophies. When the Michigan State Spartans beat the Florida Gators, haha, in the national championship. So love to remember this one. Maybe I'll sign one and give one to Jeff. Here's a Cade Cunningham. This would go into the color match binder, actually. Really cool stuff, just visually, that I thought was a really sharp card and not super expensive, so I probably would keep that one. And I would just keep going through this box. I've got a ton of Dante DiVincenzo cards, very raw stuff. Any of you Dante collectors out there want to acquire any of these, let me know. These Tiffany's are really cool. This is another set that I would probably get of all the Pistons. Not incredibly expensive, but actually pretty rare. And I would just go through this box, through that process, and what I would do is take these, and then I would determine like binder, shelf, sell. So you just want to have like a sorting mechanism, just a couple spare boxes. So I might take these out and I might go shelf, you know what, shelf, shelf. Let's do the Vince and the Steph on the shelf. And then I put some stuff in this row into the binder, and you can just move around and consolidate. So making sure that you have enough, you know, just boxes to move stuff around is actually a really important part of the process when you're sorting. And then that way it's really easy to say, I got to ship this stuff out here, ship this stuff out here. These 2 boxes, I mentioned my love of Stadium Club. Okay. Stadium Club has 3 different things that I particularly like within the set. The base set's great. You saw I like to collect that. Image variations. This is a Hank Aaron image variation from 2019 Stadium Club. Just absolutely beautiful images, okay? Gold minted. Actually, this is just a gold refractor. I like those too. This is a gold refractor numbered to 50. They have these rainbow foils. You guys remember Jim Abbott? One hand. Rainbow foils numbered to 25, okay? This is a rainbow foil Acuna, Albies, and then let me see if I can find a gold minted real quick just to kind of show you an example of one of those. I've got one right here of Mickey, I know I do. So this set is called gold minted. It's a little bit of like a golded sepia hue. These are not numbered, but these are actually like super short print rate, like very rare. There's usually 30 to 50 of these maybe. So I have all of these. I have a lot of different players. I really like them. I love the photography. When I add up all the value, I've got, you know, like Chris Sale, you know, some cool, really cool stuff. Chris Sale run. This card's just awesome. Lou Gehrig and Babe Ruth on the same card. Torrey Hunter, Big Unit, Prince Fielder. Lots of cool stuff, right? I can keep it here. It's quite a few cards. I'm going to keep some of them here and put them on my shelves, a limited shelf space. The rest of them, I'm going to send a lot of them, at least the ones that are like $20 and up, to Fanatics Collect. I'm going to pay the $3 per card. So there's, you know, a couple hundred cards in here. So it's going to be like probably $600 or $700, honestly, just for the $3 a piece to send them in. But I'm going to get really nice high resolution images that will show off the rainbow foil refraction, will allow me to have that catalog indexed on their vault, and then I can set the prices. And some of this stuff has been going up. The image variations in particular, very sought after. A lot of them don't come up very often. So that's my plan with them, is to send them off and get some eyeballs on them. And even through content, you know, I can let people know, like, hey, I have some of these available. Again, I'm not hyper eager to get rid of them. I really like the cards. This is not a liquidation mindset related to these cards, at least not right now. And then if somebody's like, hey, I've been looking for one of these cards for 3 years, I'll pay you, you know, above market for these cards. Maybe we work out a deal and we get that done. So that's what I'm going to do with these. And I'm also just going to really enjoy going through all of them and looking at the cards as well. So I've got these boxes. All of this is all graded card stuff that I'm going to be sending off specifically to Fanatics Collect, I believe. Some of these I might send to eBay consignment to get some immediate liquidity just to sell. The one caveat about Fanatics Collect is it's definitely a high-end market. A lot of 90s collectors, a lot of high-end cards. Sometimes the more liquid stuff, especially like if it's $20 to $50, does not do as well on there as it does on eBay, where the collector and buyer base on there is much more diversified. And and more just like I think would be representative of like the hobby as a whole, all the different people who participate in different ways. So I'm going to go through this, and I've got all these different cards. Let me show you kind of what's in this box. And if anything in here jumps out to any of you too, feel free to reach out to me to inquire. So I've got the Feraligatr. I'm just going to go through these. Some Star Wars stuff, Randy Moss rookie, Peyton Manning. I got this Flaherty, but I've decided I'm only going to collect Flaherty Tigers stuff since he's on the team. I've liked him for a long time. Jordan, this is really cool. Pujols. This is a really cool card for any Cardinals fans. Maddox, these are really cool. Maddox Wood, Smoltz. I like these, but I'm gonna let it go. Here's an Albies. I've got this is a Smoltz 1/1, Strider, Kyle Tucker image variation, Sekou. This is a really cool mini numbered to 5 of Freeman and Harper. Don't judge me. Don't judge me, okay? Some of my biggest mistakes. I bought these, had them for a while. Some of you would throw them in the trash. If somebody else is dumb and wants to buy his cards, then I'll take the money. Conor McGregor, Ankalaev, some other stuff. There's a lot in here. I don't need to go through all of it, but if any of that stuff suits your fancy. And then the last thing is, this is the big decision, okay? And this is where the Fanatics Collect thing really comes into play for me, more than with any of this other stuff. 1/1s, okay? I have, I don't know, 70, 80 1/1s of Drummond. I feel like I'm missing a few, to be honest. I don't know. I had more, and I think there was only like 68 in here, so I've got to figure out if there's another box sitting somewhere. But they might be in those ones over there. It's really fun. It's really fun. It's really cool to say, hey, I have 80 1/1s of a player. It's also a lot of money into a player like Drummond, and I can have the ones that I really like, and then I can keep all the rest of those rainbows, and I can still be like a gold collector, much more affordable. You can get like gold Drummonds for like, depending on the set, $5 to $30. You know, most of these cards are going to be somewhere in the $120 to $500 range a piece. So if I start to piece this out, add all of this up, the value, total value, somewhere between like $6,000 to $13,000. Just being honest. That would help me pay down my windows, but I'm not going to like rush it or liquidate right now. So I'm going to send them, and check this out. Here's a good example. This is the CGC certified label. It actually has an MBA on it too, I guess, but that's what it looks like. And it's in this one's in a top loader because it's a thicker card, so they didn't put it into a card saver. But stuff like this, I send it there. They'll scan it into the vault. Very secure. It's insured. It's free to do. High-res images listed on the Buy Now marketplace with Fanatics Collect. See what happens, and have the whole collection digitized that I can look at any time. To me, that's satisfying. I know for other people, they're like, I've got to have the cards in hand. That's why I'm keeping the other stuff that I really, really like. And it's front and center on my shelf in there. My 2012 Prism Gold, my 2018 Prism Nebula and Prism Black, things along those lines. They're not leaving my possession. I really like having them. The rest of this stuff, I'm going to be content to have sent off to the vault. So that's my process. My goal here, I don't honestly even have like a value estimate in mind. If I had to guess for all of this stuff, if I'm patient with it, somewhere in the $20,000 to $30,000 range. And a lot of this stuff I bought years ago for much, much cheaper than what it's worth today. The markets just continue to go up on a lot of stuff overall. I'm talking pre-COVID boom, or when I find deals, a lot of times I pounce on it, and it's built up over time. I've sold a lot of stuff too. So I know that sounds like that. If you had told me 6 years ago that I would have $30,000 worth of cards sitting here, I would have thought you were crazy. I was reluctant to buy a card that was more than 30 bucks. I worked. I did things over time. I know some people don't like flipping and other things, but it's part of the hobby. I've had fun doing it. I speculate less these days and flip less because I don't always have a lot of time. But finding deals and just kind of knowing and being smart, I've been able to be really successful with some different hunches. It's built up my hobby bankroll. I'm going to take all of this. My wife sees a $15,000 deposit go into our bank account and, go toward paying off window loan. She'll be happy. Happy wife, happy life. Everything's good. Let me know what you think of this process. Let me know. Is anything here new to you? Are you going to try out any of these methods, or have you tried them in the past? I'd love to read your comments down below. As always, thanks so much for watching. Happy investing. Keep on collecting, and make sure to have fun.